Good morning, Texoma. I'm Ashley Fitzwater. Thanks for joining us this morning. We are taking an inside look at a pretty awesome program called Operation Thank a Veteran. Joining me now with the very latest is Jerry Thomas. She is the Director of Marketing at Presbyterian Manor. And Jerry, we just want to say thanks for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You can look around and you can see that we are getting ready for July 4th. How do you want Texoma to get involved?
We are inviting the community to go onto our website, which is presmanor.org, pick a thank you card, you'll type a personal message, and then hit send and we'll do the rest. We want to make sure that all of our senior residents get a thank you, more than one thank you actually. You know, this is a time when people are thinking about their freedoms and what they're thankful for, and we want to make sure that the veterans know that they're not forgotten.
I love this. Now this was something I understand was actually dreamed up right here at home.
Right. We were talking about, you know, different times that we think about our veterans and different times we think about our freedoms. And, you know, 4th of July is celebration time, picnics, and summertime, you know, everybody's happy and doing fireworks. But a lot of times the seniors in our community, they don't do the fireworks anymore. You know, they're kind of past that stage. And we wanted them to know that they're not forgotten. Yeah. And that's what we hear from a lot of them. It's like, that was so long ago, or you know, I was so young, and we want to make sure that they know that there's not an expiration date on our thanks to them.
Oh, I love that. So well said. So this is kind of what we're looking at, and I want to show this off because it's beautiful. And you basically bind these up with ribbon and hand these out, and each card has a different message. And Texoma, that's a message that they would write and send in, and you print them, and they're beautiful. There's different pictures you can choose from and everything. Do you have any that you'd like to read or any that you can tell us about?
Well, I do. As a matter of fact, I have one that I'd like you to read.
Okay, let me see. Oh, this is a card that I actually sent in. I love this. This was a program that I guess it's in its 3rd year.
Yes.
So how exciting to be able to see this one. Okay, I wrote, "Dear veteran, you are a blessing and a true hero in my eyes. The words thank you just aren't enough. We are so grateful for your sacrifice and time and all that you have done for our country. Freedom is something that's so easy for us to take for granted, but please know it's something we remember comes at a price, and it couldn't be done without people like you. As we celebrate our nation's birthday, please know we also celebrate you." Oh, you know, it's so heartfelt when you write these, so I'm sorry you don't expect to read this out loud. It's such an easy way to say thank you, and I think that's what I love about it. So,
and we're the same way. We read them, and then we're just like, American, you know. And you know, there's a story I can tell you about a gentleman that was in our healthcare center, which is our nursing care, and he was not doing very well. And he was actually, when we went to look for him to deliver his cards, he was in the assisted dining room, and which means he was needing help with meals. And so we found him, and the junior volunteers gave him his cards, and he just kind of was looking at them, and his wife asked him, she said, do you understand what these are for? Do you understand what they're thanking you for? And he just kind of looked. She said, they're thanking you for your service in World War II.
wow.
And when he heard that, he said, he looked up and he said, I flew 39 missions. And he went on to tell details about what he did, his job on the plane, and what he, you know, the things that he did in detail. And his wife just started crying. She said he hardly speaks anymore. She went on to tell us how they had had a wonderful marriage and that she was a war bride. And by the time we got out of there, we were all crying, you know. But it's very heartfelt. People, they support our veterans, young and old, in this community, and we're thankful for that. So.
And I like also how you don't have to know their story at all. They don't have to be long messages either. I know there's just some that simply say, thank you for your service. You know, thank you for your time. And I know you have a few more, which I think is neat because they're from all over the country. Can you maybe read a couple of those?
Like, for instance, a lot of times people will tell us that one of their family members is serving or that they have served, and, you know, they identify like that. But this one says, as a new Marine mom in Kansas, I thank you for your service to our country. Your contribution has inspired so many young men and women to answer the call. As we prepare to celebrate the birth of our nation, please know how grateful we are for freedom. We know without a doubt that it is not free. Wishing you a very happy 4th of July.
Oh, I love it.
And then we have one here from Missouri. It says, hello from Missouri. I want to thank you for your service and sacrifice to protect our country. My son is proudly willing to serve as well. I pray for you, and may God pour his blessings out on you.
Oh,
So, very,
that's
very
perfect.
heartfelt.
Yes, absolutely. And something, again, short, it only takes a few minutes. All you have to do is sign online. What I like about this, too, if you're comfortable with it, I know there's a way you can put in your information, maybe your email, and they'll remind you. So
Oh, of
maybe for
course,
years to
yes,
come,
yes.
you know, we always need a little reminder as you get busy, and maybe
Right.
this is something you want to do on an annual basis.
And another thing I want to make sure everyone understands that there's no cost involved.
Yes.
It doesn't cost anything to do this. So it's totally free. Just takes a minute or so of your time, and people we will impact people's lives.
I'd like to talk about how you deliver these and how others have even gotten involved in making this such a special moment.
Yes, we have junior volunteers that help deliver. This will be the second year that the Girl Scouts have donated cookies.
Oh,
So last year and this year, that not only will they get cards, but they'll get cookies from the Girl Scout. We set a goal of 300 because we like every veteran to get 5 or 6. Bundle them up like
there you
this
go.
and make them look really pretty.
Absolutely. We are going to hear from some of those vets coming up and really what these cards mean to them and what your thanks means to them. So stick around, Texoma. We are not done talking about Operation Thank a Vet. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we're taking an inside look at a program called Operation Thank a Veteran. It's right here in Wichita Falls. And Texoma, joining me now, of course, is two of the people who this program is all about, some of our veterans right here in Texoma. Joining me now is Mr. Bill English and also Mr. James Earl Montgomery. I want to thank both of you for taking time to be here with us this morning.
It's our pleasure.
Very much so.
We are excited to, of course, talk with each of you. I've had a chance to speak with them during the break, but Mr. English, I know that you actually were a fighter pilot, which is very cool, and I know we're going to hear a lot about your service and what you did for our country, and it was called the Army Air Corps, which is something interesting that we've learned today, but we'll, of course, get into that. And then, Mr. Montgomery, you served with the Navy and on the USS Denver in the Atlantic Ocean, so there's a lot to get to this morning, Texoma, but of course, first of all, we are talking about a simple, easy, free way that you can say thank you to men just like Mr. English and Mr. Montgomery with a simple card. So, gentlemen, first of all, I want to ask you, I know this is the third year for this program, and you've received these cards in the past from total strangers.
Yes.
What went through your mind when you first received one of these?
Well, it's good to know that people have acknowledged what we did and the danger that we were in and the risks that we were taking and the joys that we had in successful operations or missions, as we called them in the Air Force. It just makes you feel real good when somebody comes up to you and you have something on that is indicating that you were in service, and they say thank you for your service and what you did. And that just runs cold chills up and down my spine.
I love it. What about for you, Mr. Montgomery? Whenever you first read one of these, what do you remember what it said, or do you remember the impact it had on you?
Yes, it was a surprise. I heard the knock at the door and went. A very attractive young lady standing there handing this card to me and explaining. And I was just very impressed and so appreciative that someone would, take time to stop and thank you for having served in one of the armed forces, and it meant quite a bit to me.
I love how hearing that from each of you as someone, I have not served. So knowing that something so small, because sometimes you don't know what to do to say thank you, and maybe you feel it has to be something big or extravagant or it won't mean anything, but that's just not the case, huh?
No.
That's good to know.
Right.
And again, this is free for you to do. It's easy for you to do, and we can obviously hear how much of an impact it has. And I know you're excited about getting the cards this year too, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
you're going to be getting that knock on the door pretty soon. And we're actually going to meet one of those young ladies who helped them out, and she's still passing out those cards. That's coming up, and really what this has meant for her and the impact it's had on her life as well. But I want to have some time to, of course, again, talk about why we're here today, and that's your service. So, Mr. English, we will start with you, and if you can just tell us a little bit about your service and what it is that you did as a fighter pilot.
Well, as a fighter pilot, I was sent overseas while the war was in its final stages, and I was stationed in Hawaii for additional training, and there I got introduced to the P-51 fighter pilot. Prior to that time, I'd flown the P-40s in training, and we went by ship to Iwo Jima, and we had to wait out in the ocean for about 30 days to wait for them to take the island. They had expected it would take 3 days, and actually it took 38 days. I made 10 missions, which, believe it or not, was a tour in our particular theater, and bomber pilots had at least 30 before they could go home. And I flew my last mission the day before they dropped the atomic bomb. Every trip that we made up there was 7.5 hours over water in order to have 12 to 15 minutes over Japan. So we were glad that they developed and were successful in ending the war. Then I was recalled during the Korean War, and I was stationed with the Voice of America. And I tell people I had my tour in World War II in a fighting position, and when I got into the Korean War, I tried to talk my way out of it and to use propaganda to the other countries.
Whenever you get cards like this, does it take you back to those moments? I mean,
Oh.
does it seem like it was just yesterday?
Absolutely. It's just anything that has the flags on there bring back the days that we fought for that flag. I fought the Japanese, and then I had the pleasure in 1992 of going on there as in a mission trip, and I had the opportunity of preaching in the First Baptist Church in Tokyo.
Wow,
And that was one of the highlights of my career.
that's awesome. Well, we cannot say thank you enough for your service, and I just can't even imagine, just the fighter pilot position alone, much less everything else. So we just really appreciate it, and I appreciate you sharing a little piece of your history with us this morning. And like we have mentioned before, serving in the air and then serving on the sea. Can you tell us a little bit about your service and when you served?
I was in the Navy V-12 officer training program. About 1943, the Navy realized that they were very short on engineers and on doctors, and so they started this V-12 program across the country in a number of the major universities. And I had orders to the University of Texas and went through the program there. And so the war was actually just ending as we completed our period of training. And so I got my degree in mechanical engineering and also commissioned as an ensign. And we were ordered then to several of the light cruisers. And I was aboard the USS Denver, which was a very interesting experience. And you asked for a few interesting happenings. The war being over, the Navy sort of went back to some of its basic purpose, which a lot of people are not aware of, but one of the purposes of the U.S. Navy for the last 200 years has been to take the flag to all parts of the world and many, many foreign countries. And so the Navy picked this up again. So we were ordered to Bermuda, which is tough duty.
Oh, yeah.
And we were there for about a week and attended several functions. And 3 or 4 of us that were newly commissioned ensigns went with the captain of our ship to the governor and made a presentation for and on behalf of the United States through the Navy. And that was very interesting. And then later we were, we had gunnery practice up on the northern coast of Maine. And while we were up in that area, we were ordered to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and to do the same formal situation. And that was quite interesting. And another experience, we sailed up the St. Lawrence River to Quebec, and several of us were invited to this huge, huge luncheon put on, sponsored by a Rotary Club, with the head people, the governor and so forth, of that area of Canada. And once again, we made a presentation to them on behalf of the United States government.
Wow.
So that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, we went through a lot of training and familiarity with the ship and so forth.
That's really neat. I didn't know that about the Navy. So that is true. A lot of people may not know that. I'm sure then the flag holds a very special meaning
Yeah.
to you. I mean, of course, to everybody, but to you specifically, since that was your focus and your job was to,
Yes.
transport that and make sure that was represented in those other areas. That is pretty neat. Do you have grandchildren and family now that maybe are friends who you talk to about this? What do you share with them?
We have 2 daughters and their husbands that live here in Wichita Falls. And one daughter has 2 sons, the other 2 daughters. So we have the 4 grandchildren, and 3 of them are married. And we have 3 great-grandchildren. 2 of them live here in Wichita Falls and one in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. But with the grandchildren, as they grew up, they were very knowledgeable of my Navy service and wanted to hear stories about it and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And as I left the Navy active duty, I received orders from active duty to reserve duty. And so for a number of years, I was active in the Naval Reserve Armory on Seymour Highway, close to town. And I was an instructor and did different things. And after 22 years of combined active and reserve, then I retired. So I'm actually a retired naval officer.
Wow. Again, we just appreciate your service and I mean, even how you've invested in others through that training and that teaching. I, again, go back to these cards, Texoma, and they're free. It's something that's easy to do. And I love how each of you said that it means a lot to you. And it brings back memories, both happy memories and, just things that I'm sure seem like yesterday, things that you both did to serve our country. So I know we could probably sit here all morning and spend one entire show, which maybe we should do sometime, just sharing stories, because it's so interesting and fascinating, and I think important to keep alive. We need to take a quick break, Texoma, because we have much more to get to. You are welcome. Stick with us. We'll be right back with much more. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we are taking an inside look at Operation Thank a Vet. We've heard from the veterans, we've heard all about this program, and now is joining us, of course, the young lady we've been telling you all about. This is Abby Jones. She is 13. And Abby, first of all, we just appreciate you joining us this morning. Glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
We are talking a lot about delivering these cards to these vets, and I understand that this is something you have been a part of since it all got started. Can you tell me what made you want to take part in this?
Well, when I heard about the first Operation Think a Veteran they were doing, I was part of this club called Caring Girls Club. I'm still a part of it now. But my friends and I in the club thought it would be a great opportunity to start helping, them hand out the cards to all the veterans. And it turned out to be really fun, and I've been doing it for the past 3 years.
Can you tell me the first time you had to go knock on the door and deliver the cards, what was the response?
They were really sincere. They seemed so appreciative. Some of them broke out in tears. Some of them were just in awe that somebody would come and thank them, like they weren't used to having somebody thank them for serving the country, which I thought that was really cool. It's a nice feeling, knowing you made somebody feel good about what they've done.
Yeah. Was it surprising that they were maybe in shock? Because sometimes, you might not think that they're not appreciated or they don't feel appreciated. So were you surprised at how much they enjoyed that?
Yeah, I actually was. I usually think about how much they've served our country, but I don't always tell them, and I guess most other people are like that too, but I never really thought about before how they're not always thanked for what they've done. Maybe they'd be surprised by it.
You're a very wise girl, Abby. Now, again, these cards, an easy way to do that, it just takes a minute. You've heard straight from her that it's obviously making an impact. So have you taken time? Have you written one of these cards before, gotten online and typed something up?
I have. I've done one each year, and it makes me feel good. It just makes me feel good to write it.
Now, if there's other maybe teenagers watching, young kids watching today, and they want to do this too, how do you know what to write? So can you maybe give us an example? What did you know what to say to them?
At first, I actually had no idea what I should say. I knew there would be some sort of thank you in there, because that's what the program's for, but I didn't know exactly what to thank them for. So I kind of just wrote, I don't know what to thank you for. You've served my country, and you were very brave to do it, and I'm glad that I'm here today, and it's all because of you serving my country that I'm actually here today. So
Love it. That's very well said. Is that something you're even encouraging families to do? I mean, if they have children who maybe understand, is this a good thing to get them involved?
Oh, it's perfect. Yes, it's perfect.
So what are you looking forward to the most? Come July 4th when you're going to be passing these out, or July 3rd, is that right? I know right around that time you're going to be passing these out. What are you looking forward to the most?
2 things, actually. I'm looking forward to their reactions, and I'm also looking forward to, before we start going and passing out all the cards to everyone, we have to set up the cards, and we have to put them in the baskets, and I really like all the preparation and stuff that we do for it. it's fun.
Do you get a chance to read some of those cards?
I do.
What do you think whenever you're reading some of those messages?
It's hard to keep myself together. It's like it's a really emotional thing because these people are so sincere, and like sometimes I find my card or I find when somebody I know who wrote it down, it just makes me feel like they really are appreciated. They really did do something great for us.
I love it. Such a simple, easy way to say thanks. Abby, thank you for your time and thank you for sharing. And I know they are excited to get ready to see you and all of the other young ladies who are going to be helping out to deliver in Texoma. Thank you as well. We'll, of course, put that website on the bottom of your screen so you'll know exactly where to go. And you have until July 1st to get it done so that way they can print them off. And as Abby said, take time to get them all together and put them in these beautiful baskets. So again, July 1st, and you can head to that website. We hope you have a wonderful day. As always, we'll see you back here next Sunday morning for another look inside Texoma.